In commemoration of 50 years of producing chronograph watches, Tudor released the Black Bay Chronograph in 2021. This release is a relaunch of the 2017 model of the same name, but relaunch is a big word in the world of watches. Like most of its lineup, Tudor seemed to be able to make a watch better looking by making the smallest of changes. This is where I ask myself the all-important question, what makes an iconic vintage sports watch? Is it the beautiful lines and shapes? Is it the way the light bounces off the contrasting materials? Is it the alluring proportions that blend new and old so effortlessly? Is it the inner workings, the complications and functionality? How often does a watch come along which seamlessly combines all of these traits to form the ideal watch? The Black Bay Chronograph has a 41mm case and a thickness of 14.4mm. This watch is on the larger side, but despite that, it does sit surprisingly comfortably on my smaller wrist. This wasn't what I was expecting when I tried it on at the AD. So if you have smaller wrists like me, I wouldn't write this watch off. The solid steel case has a mix of polished and brushed surfaces. These contrasting finishes are well balanced, with neither one or the other taking the limelight. Now, one of my favourite details is the highly polished rim around the tachymeter bezel. Now, Rolex, Tudor's parent company, recently added this to their Daytona lineup, the new lineup, and for good reason. It just looks amazing. Speaking of the bezel, you'll notice it's not ceramic, and Tudor know that would be overkill. Here, they've opted for an aluminium version which offers a more convincing vintage appeal. To the right of the case, we find the screw-down chronograph pushers, which are highly polished as well. These pushers are large and feel extremely well built and solid when in use. Perhaps the most talked about feature of this particular watch is the gorgeous white panda-style dial. For a chronograph, this white panda dial feels uncluttered, which is surprising for a chronograph. The visual depth is just right to invoke that classy feel, whilst remaining a functional instrument. We find the date window at the 6 o'clock position beneath the chronometer certified text, and above that, in red, the highly impressive 200 meters depth rating. Being able to go swimming in your chronograph watch, who would have thought? Subtle but distinct lume-filled applied indices charm this dial. The sapphire crystal covering the dial is a boxed style shape to mimic the acrylic we find in older vintage timepieces. The bracelet is solid and features a mostly brushed look, with the polished surfaces keeping to the side of the bracelet, perhaps to enhance the design elements of the iconic side rivets. It's a bold design choice from Tudor to keep the rivet style on the bracelet. A lot of people do have problems with them, but Tudor is saying, no, we want to keep that vintage feel to the watch. The manufacturer caliber MT5813 is a COSC chronometer automatic movement that operates at 4 Hz with a total of 70 hours of power reserve. This movement was designed in the purest watchmaking tradition, with a column wheel mechanism and vertical clutch. The balance wheel is fitted with a silicone hairspring, which is resistant to magnetism, temperature variations, as well as not needing any adjustment. Now, you may or may not know that this movement is actually constructed by Breitling for Tudor in a dedicated facility called Le Champ de Fonds. And in return, Tudor will supply its own automatic MT56 movement to Breitling. The Tudor Black Bay Chronograph mixes authentic style with contemporary design. In essence, this watch should be conservative, and it is, but wearing the watch one realises it is also versatile, fashionable and captivating. Chronographs have always amazed me, but they've always been tricky to pin down. Some are too busy on the dial, others are just a bit unattractive, and the ones that I'd actually put on my wrist are, well, more or less unobtainable. This truly is a gem of a watch, and Tudor continues to impress me with these type of releases. The Black Bay Chrono is, for me, one of the few perfect watches in existence. The quality of this watch is superb, and the value for money is undeniable. The Black Bay Chrono brand new will set you back around $4,500, depending on if you go for the steel bracelet or not. This is a watch you buy for life, and with the amount of money in question, it feels like Tudor is somewhat undercharging us. There are of course more expensive options on the market, if your wallet so desires. The Rolex Daytona is quintessentially the chronograph to rule all chronographs. Yet, when comparing these two watches, it might be harder than one thinks to find any obvious differences in quality. Sure, the Rolex has the superior movement, and one would be silly to turn down a Daytona compared to a Black Bay Chrono. But this may have more to do with popularity more than anything. And some of us don't like going for popular. For me, when it really comes down to it, these two watches were forged by the same blacksmith. They are both equally amazing and do what they were built to do exquisitely. Just because one is priced significantly higher than the other, does it really make it better? Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.